Wanted to take a few minutes today and talk about something that we touched on earlier in one of our rare book moments. It has to do with old books. Every bookstore in the world, every old bookstore in the world gets asked at least once a day, maybe 10 times a day, does my old book have any value? And I was reminded of that again just recently when a young woman brought in a book similar to this one. This happens to be the collected poetry of Percy Shelley. It's a pretty little book, published about 1890, but it really doesn't have a lot of value. And it's a difficult concept in some instances. This book, on the other hand, is published about the same time period, 1885, and it's a book that has a lot of value. So what's the difference? What's the difference between Mr. Shelley and Mr. Twain? It is that this is the original edition of Huckleberry Finn. It's a watershed moment. It represents the genesis of an idea and a style. And that's the sort of thing that gives a book of value. It's a high point in the history of mankind, in the literary history of mankind. On the other hand, this little book of Percy Shelley was published about 1890. He unfortunately died about 1820, so it's really about 70 years after the fact, which is 3 or 4 generations. And while it seems terribly, terribly old to us today, it was in fact terribly, terribly old at the time it was published. It's nowhere near the original edition, and although his poetry is certainly important, it's not the original edition. It's not the genesis of an idea. It's not the genesis of a style. And that's the difference.